Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Independent Podcast. My name is Fernando Garcia. I'm here with Michael Maxsenti from the Common Sense Party of California. I had the pleasure of meeting Michael about 2 weeks ago at an event, and he's been kind enough to join us here to discuss a little bit about what the Common Sense Party is about. But before I get into that, Michael, if you could talk a little bit about your background, before you became a volunteer with the party, what your personal backstory, I'd greatly appreciate it. So if you could take that away, go right ahead.
All right. The only thing, I'll try to keep it brief.
Okay.
I spent 20 years in the corporate world. I worked my way up from a youngest salesman to the youngest president of a division of American Standard. I served as a COO of a startup joint venture with Nissan and another company called Mura Graphics out of Tokyo. I did that for 2 years, and then I was blessed with a son late in life, and I resigned from that position to didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I decided I wanted to be a father first and devote myself to my community and take advantage of this opportunity. And then I started a publishing business, and I built a publishing business up. And did that for 20 years. So I built a small publishing business. We ended up having the second largest tourism magazines in LA, Orange County, and San Diego. When I sold that in 2014, after getting involved in the political reform effort in 2010, and it became my overwhelming passion, and my staff was complaining that I was never around. I was always on the road or on a call with them. And so I offered to sell it to my employees, and I devoted full time and committed myself full time to the political reform effort. I helped co-found a nonprofit in 2000. We launched in 2010 called Rebellious Truths. And the only thing still left of that is up on YouTube, Rebellious Truths. But my co-founder was a 22-year-old, and I didn't know this until we started into a political conversation for the first time. And he said, "I got to tell you, I am one of the founders of a club at UCLA and called the Bruin Anarchists." So we started our political relationship, and now I think of him like a son. But he was a 22-year-old anarchist. I, in 2010, was a lifetime at that point Reagan conservative Republican.
Wow. Yeah.
So from a 22-year-old and a 60-year-old anarchist, Reagan Republican, that's what started our relationship.
Yeah.
And after 7 months of extensive conversations, we agreed to co-found a nonprofit called Rebellious Truths. And the mission statement of Rebellious Truths, which is my personal mission statement to this day, is to galvanize, educate, organize, and activate the millennial generation and others to lead, and this is the most important word in the whole mission statement, a responsible revolution to reform our political system. And that's what launched us. And I was the only non-millennial in the operations. I funded it all for over 2 years. And we had over 42,000 millennials sign a pledge that they were a millennial in support of us as supporters and followers. We had over 5 million views collectively between YouTube channel and our website. And then after the election of 2012, in January of 2013, my 5 paid millennial staffers asked for a meeting, and which was kind of odd, and that they would do that. We were like a family, and so we met, and they said basically what they had learned in 2+ years of what was going on inside of our leadership of our 2 parties and our government, that they were overwhelmed. They thought changing the course of our political system to get government on the side of the people, to be a facilitator for the kinds of evolutionary challenges that we have, whether it be climate, homeless, healthcare, all of these, they felt it was overwhelming, and they said, we need to get on with our lives. And they said, I hope you understand. And some tears were shed by all, and we said goodbye. And I had dedicated myself to this effort, and I've stayed on it ever since. And as my wife reminded me last month, I'm now into my 14th year of this reform effort. But Common Sense Party, I joined shortly after its initial launch and became one of the 6 members of the founding leadership team in 2019. I'm committed to and believe that this is absolutely the initiative here that can actually break inside of the system and inspire the nation that a new kind of political party not only can come into existence, but that the existing 2 parties that control the system will change. And I use the example of what Tesla did, how quickly they changed the automotive industry once they launched and they saw how the people resonated with the types of design and power systems they had. And the rest of the car industry had to quickly change or continue to lose significant market share, and they did. And that's what will happen in the political realm. So that's the backstory of how I'm here, what I'm working on.
Well, that's great. You know, you said a word that is important, which was responsible. Can you tell me why that's so important when you talk about a responsible revolution?
Yes. We don't need loss of life. We don't need to tear things down or tear institutions down or people down. It's about building up, and so that's why the importance of a responsible. It's not about demeaning others, tearing things down, etc. It's about building up from what we have. We have a great foundation. We have a lot of great people. We need to come together as people, and coming together, we will find the solutions to the significant challenges of our time.
That makes a lot of common sense.
No pun intended, I'm sure.
Right, no pun intended. So tell me a little bit about, I do know a little bit about the Common Sense Party. So, but for our viewers, how would you decide, if I was somebody brand new and I said, tell me about the Common Sense Party, what would you say to them?
Well, the most important thing I would say is it's a new kind of party. We actually don't like the term party, but it's a legal term we have to use. It would be more appropriate to call us a caucus, where it's for an open forum for people of all perspectives to have an opportunity to come together, and then it's up to the voters. So the uniqueness of the Common Sense Party is that we're about giving independent-minded people the opportunity to get elected in a system that is so overly controlled by the money and the way the rules are written by the parties to keep everyone other than an official representative of the parties out of the system, that we don't have the opportunity for people of true independent thinking who can truly represent from the bottom up their constituents' views and what their heart tells them is right and do the right thing. The system right now does not allow those kind of people to get elected. And if they somehow slip into being elected the first time, they are quickly taught the rules of the road that you will be gone at the next election cycle if you don't adhere to what leadership's directions are and prove your loyalty to leadership, you're gone. And so that's where we're at. And so the Common Sense Party welcomes people, and until we have candidates specifically in the race that we've endorsed that carry our full label as Common Sense Party, we have and will continue to endorse independent common sense Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, whatever, by leveling the economic playing field. The key point of being a political party is that we have to be a party to apply the same campaign finance laws to our candidates that we endorse that the other candidates have now. And that's why independent people who don't have an endorsed party behind them have no chance of winning.
Yeah, I'm an independent. I made that switch about 5, 6 years ago. I was a Democrat, kind of what I would consider maybe a conservative Democrat to an extent. Um, and it took an epiphany for me, to get to that stage in my life, to really see how the two-party system works. Tell me a little bit about.
Before that,
Go
you
ahead.
share your epiphany for those members of the audience who are just joining you for the first time.
Sure, absolutely. A little bit of backstory about myself. I'm in the solar business. I own a solar company, and I'm really big into renewable energy, for example. And I started to realize, I said, and there's a lot of not just renewable energy, but also things like hemp, which could be used to fight climate change. Plastics, with the industrial plastics and the pollution that we have with that. And nobody's talking about those things on the Democrat side. And there are things that we could do with renewables that I don't really felt that the Democrats were really pushing for. And then when I started to realize, well, who funds the Democrats? And I said, well, it's a lot of Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and they all fund the fossil fuel industry in their infrastructure. So they have an incentive to keep the fossil fuel industry alive. They don't want to see this transition go as quick as we maybe need it to go. And then I just started to look at where the money's coming from. And that's what made me go, hey, they're not really for what we need as a people. They're not fighting for us. They're fighting for the people who are donating the money. And they like to kind of play these culture wars, this tribal politics where they pit one group against another. And, it's getting worse with politicizing everything. If Republicans are for something, that means automatic Democrats have to be against it. It could be the best idea, and vice versa. Democrats are for some, Republicans are 100% against it, regardless if it's good or bad. And I started to just have that epiphany and go, you know what? If we keep going down this road, it's not going to be good for any of us. I have children myself. I have 2 boys. And when I look at the political system, we're going to leave them. I cannot not do something about it and make a change. And to me, the easiest change a person can make is not looking elsewhere than the two-party system, and whatever that might be. And that's not to say there aren't good Republicans or Democrats running out there, but start to really look outside of that. And that kind of was my epiphany. Obviously, I did decide to run as an independent candidate for Congress before. I took my lumps doing that, but I learned a lot. And one of the reasons I started this podcast was to give independents, not just independent voters, but independent candidates, independent movements, a voice. Because I see how important that voice can be, especially with social media, where we can bypass the media and go directly to the voter, directly to the citizen. So that was my epiphany. I just, the more and more I meet people like yourself, the more and more I watch the news and look at politics, the more I feel like I made the right decision and going this route. So.
Well, you did make the right decision. Let me touch on 2 things that you brought up there. One is the independent candidates.
Mm-hmm.
Let me touch on that first. The reason independence candidates, the campaign finance laws, this is real important for people to understand. The campaign finance laws are written by the parties, for the parties. And people say, all we have to do is change those rules. Well, they're not going to change them. They write them. They control who writes them. And they will not change those. They'll write a lot of bills. There were over 20 bills at the federal level passed in a 25-year period, all about campaign finance laws. And not only did they have 0 impact, but then they put the cherry on the cake for them when they, with the PAC court that we have, passed Citizens United,
right,
and gave corporations that topped it off. And here in California, fortunately, we have a great initiative called AB 83, which is in the assembly, that is at least attacking a significant element of it, and that's foreign money in politics. I encourage the audience, and I encourage you, Fernando, to put that up on the some of the show notes, how to get information from the group called MOVI, Money Out, Voters In, that is leading the effort to defeat AB 83, or actually not defeat it, to get it passed, I should say, which will take foreign money out of our California campaigns, which are a significant portion. People don't realize the connected nature of how they can put money from foreign companies, foreign entities, through our corporations into local elections and state and national elections to influence them. So the part about independent candidates, the most important thing to understand for people is that the way the rules are written right now is that if you, again, Fernando, were running for office as an independent or as a non-endorsed Democrat, Republican, whatever, and I had the means and wanted to support you, I could write you two checks if you're the official representative of one of those parties. I could hand you one check to Fernando Garcia's campaign for $5,500 if you're running for state office. I could hand you a second check made out to, let's say you're a member of the Democratic Party. I could hand you a second check for $45,500 made out to the Democratic Party and on the line for Fernando Garcia's campaign. You walk into their office, they endorse that check back over to your campaign, and I was able to give you $51,000 as an individual to your campaign. Where if you were not endorsed by a party, you were running as an independent or the non-endorsed Democrat or whatever, you could only accept that first check. And worse than that is the fact that if you're the representative of a party, and now in our state, one of the unique things we have that gives us the opportunity to break through is top two, combined with term limits and the Commission on Redistricting. But specific to the campaign finance laws, if you're running in top two and you are a threat in the primary, they can pour unlimited funds into their endorsed candidate's campaign to drown out whatever message you have, so that at worst you come in third place. Or at best, I should say, they will make sure that you can't get past third place. They will even support a candidate of a different party who's a representative. It's done, and I've seen this. I've been on campaigns that I've worked on and seen this happen firsthand a couple of times. They will spend money on behalf of their opponent, but they want to get the most extreme opponent through the primary, so that you're blocked again. And so they have unlimited funds. So the key is to be able to level that economic campaign finance laws from the get-go, so that independent candidates can't have their message drowned out, so they can at least get into second place. And now when you're in second place in California, the spoiler effect is washed away with top two. So now there's only two people in the general election. And now let's say you were running as that independent candidate. Let's say you're running as a common sense. As soon as we were a party, you're running as a common sense representative. Now you're against the Democrat, which controls 80% of our state. So you're going against the Democrat endorsed candidate. Well, now, having our party as your party, we can level that economic playing field immediately for you. And now all of the NPPs and, let's say, Republicans, they have a choice. Vote for the extreme representative of the administration of the Democratic Party. It's not the people that are Democrats. It's the administration of the party that we're really up against.
Right.
Now it's those who are going to vote for the extreme leadership of the party, or are they going to want somebody who is independent of that control, that will truly have a much better opportunity to represent them? So you actually now in top two, if you can level the economic playing field, the opponents to those controlling parties now have a big advantage, because now all of the Republicans, independents, et cetera, can vote for you, because they're certainly not going to vote for that extreme candidate.
Right. That's great. Since we're on campaign finance reform, are you familiar with democracy dollars?
Yeah, they're great. I love
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a big proponent for democracy dollars. Hopefully we can bring that to San Diego. I'm here in San Diego or California in general. But
I can
for
assure you, I can assure you, once we're a party and have inside the system, we will push for democracy dollars to empower the local average ordinary citizen,
yeah,
and make the candidates go to them to seek their financing instead of to the big donors.
yeah, absolutely. And do you guys have a stance or on ranked choice voting by any chance?
Well, we have a stance that, because of the nature of the party, where we cannot promote the specific path to issues, and
Okay.
because that's up to the members to do, and to the not to, for leadership. So having said that, we do put forth a major principle that we absolutely must immediately address, changing the winner take all plurality voting system that we have right now. Ranked choice voting is one of the best options to improve that. But there are other options. But again, it's up to the people to choose. Be a lab. Let cities and counties experiment. Let the people choose what they want, and then let it emanate up from real life experiences from the people. But we will dramatically open the door to allow new kinds of voting systems that have been in use around the world very successfully, that have been blocked and kept out of here because it would diminish the control of the system by the parties in control right now, and give people a much significantly improved system to allow their voices to be the focal point.
Awesome. And we kind of went into right into some issues, but I wanted to take a step back and go into how did Common Sense Party, how did it start in terms of is it a couple years old? Did it start here in California? Did it start somewhere else and come to California? How did that take place?
Well, it started with two individuals. The lead person is Tom Campbell, who is our chairman. Tom is an amazing individual. Tom is a former 5-term U.S. congressman from Silicon Valley. He was reelected 4 times.
Oh, wow.
He served as a California state senator. He served as the director of finance for 2 years of the state under Arnold Schwarzenegger. And before that, he was just the dean of the Haas Business School at Berkeley. And before that, just a tenured professor of law at Stanford. Minor credentials.
Right.
And while he was in office, both in Washington, D.C. and in Sacramento, he was given numerous awards as the man held in highest esteem for his integrity and his intelligence. Tom is a wonderful leader and a man of highest integrity, all about creating a party for the rest of us, for the people. So he and another member formerly of our California state, I like to use the word bureaucracy, but bureaucrat, they had the idea in 2018 to form a new kind of party. And from that seed grew into 6 people. I was the 6th member joining the group. And that was in 2018. I joined in 2019. So the Common Sense Party sprung from theirs. We have a wonderful group of people all dedicated to the same purpose, the same cause.
Awesome. And what are, if an independent candidate comes to the Common Sense Party and says, hey, I'm running, here's what I'm about. And how does that process go for a candidate to become endorsed by the Common Sense Party?
Well, what we did in 2022 is we had a questionnaire that we sent to them, and then we researched their answers and got as much research as we could without going into some quote formal, investigative background check. But the way we evaluate a candidate is based on their life story, not their words, but what have they demonstrated in their life? We have 3 key principles to get our endorsement. You've had to demonstrate in your life story that you have been a responsible, open-minded, and inclusive individual, somebody who has demonstrated thoughtfulness and critical thinking skills. That's all that matters to us. positions on any issue are not irrelevant totally, but because of the way we're structured, there is no litmus test that no matter what issues the members vote on as a platform issue, there's never a requirement for any candidate to endorse those or not speak against those. That's up to the voters and the candidates to work out. So we go through a process like that. Now for 2024, since our alliance with Forward Party, we are working in combination with them we will have a simple vetting process, and then they're going to take the lead kind of after that on a little deeper process. But we're willing to endorse people who've demonstrated those characteristics. And we don't care what party they've been in or still are in, as long as they have demonstrated those. We believe it's up to the people. We want to level that playing field and help the voters have new kinds of choices of people that will represent their interests primarily, and not the interests of a leadership of any party or the special interests and the money that they bring forth.
Nice. And, since you brought up the Forward Party, can you explain what's going on with Common Sense Party and the Forward Party, and what that is probably going to lead, how it's going to look? What's the goal of that? How's it going to look from 5 years? Is it going to be two different organizations, or is it going to be one?
Well, it's a great question. Well, we can't predict the future. However, right. I best describe it to people is we are married.
Okay.
And we have a 35-page operating agreement. Some would refer to that as a prenup. It says we're still two separate entities. The Forward Party and the Common Sense Party are two separate entities that have gotten married and signed an agreement of how we will treat each other and operate together. Now, once we're an official party, okay, which hopefully will be by sometime in November of this year, if we accomplish our registration requirements, which is the last hurdle we have to accomplish by the end of September, then it's up to our members at our first convention, which we will hold a convention within, I think it's 90 days we have to hold it, or 60 days. We'll have a virtual convention to review the bylaws, amend them, adopt them, to elect a slate of officers and those things. And from the floor, if somebody wants to raise the thing and consider changing the name to Forward Party, that would be a floor vote of the members, and that's up. So on the other side of the coin is Common Sense name rings very powerful in focus groups. So hell, they might change their name to Common Sense Party. But
right.
That discussion would be on the table, but it's up to our members. It's not up to us to decide now, and legally we won't touch that until after we're official and our members can make those decisions.
Yeah, I feel like when people start talking about politics, if you said what is it you don't like about the current system, they would bring up the lack of common sense that's out there, and that the name says it all.
Well, and one of the things that I wanted to touch on earlier was you mentioned leaving our political system. Mm-hmm. I'm concerned with how we're going to leave our country and the opportunities for future generations. That's why I'm in it. But we have to change the political system. But the founding issue that motivated the colonists to stand up against the greatest government and military of the time, Britain, was not the issues of social issues or economic issues about how much the tax was of this or any of that. The motivating principle that inspired less than 5% of the colonists to have the courage to stand up against Britain was the issue of how are we going to be governed? Are we going to allow a monarch across the ocean? But they had been all born and raised in an environment where everyone, historically, you were always ruled by a monarch, a king, a ruler, a dictator, a chief, somebody, not a chief, because that was the indigenous world was far advanced on that. Right. But that's the world they lived in. Today, we're under the control of the most sophisticated dictatorship in the history of the world. And so this issue of how are we going to be governed? Are we going to let people from Washington and Sacramento tell us in our communities how many houses and the type of houses we have to have on our streets, what kind of issues we have to solve and deal with based on what they think in Sacramento or Washington versus what we know to be the better thing in our community. And from a simple corruption standpoint and a simple accountability standpoint, the more local your representatives are to you, the ones who live down the street that you're going to see at the supermarket or at the Little League Park or at the Cub Scout or Kiwanis Club, they're going to be a lot more held accountable and make sure that they're doing what the community wants versus somebody who's trying to represent 500,000 people or more and hasn't had to go and work hardly a day in their life, to make decisions about our gasoline prices and stuff like that. So we believe local emanating from the community level up is what we need to do. And that's the kind of political system we want to change. And it's about, or are we going to let top down Washington, Sacramento tell us how we have to live in our communities and our neighborhoods?
Yeah, absolutely. What are your feelings with everything that's been getting politicized? I don't know. I have this sense that everything seems to get politicized. Like everything's either blue, red, conservative, liberal. Like there's no, and I really feel like most people are kind of in the middle. They don't really think that way. Do you feel that way as well? And do you feel like that's just dividing us more?
Numerous studies have shown it's really as little as 6 to 8% of the extremes control the political process. And so roughly 80+% of Americans want common sense solutions that to get implemented, done. We're sick and tired of hearing the promises at every election cycle from all of these candidates on both parties tell us everything we dream about. They're going to solve this. They're going to do that. We're going to fix this. And never, ever delivering on what they say. And I mean never, because in my lifetime, I've watched our standard of living been cut more than in half, probably by 2/3. I've watched our education system in California going from the leader in the world to one of the lowest ranking in our own country. We used to be recognized as the most innovative center for businesses. Now we can hardly hold on to any of the innovative businesses any longer. We were the leader in social policy, environmental policy. We were the example that most of the nation and the world turned to see how we should go. Today, we have fallen on our sword from the arrogance and the control of a single party state, not the people. The principles of that party, the Democrats, are wonderful principles, but it's the administration of the party leadership that has gone astray. Yeah. And so how do we get the principles of Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, how do we get those principles of good living and helping each other back into the system? It's by changing it. And that's where this new kind of party, as soon as we're elected, we believe you will see significant change quickly. Soon as we're official, we know that most of those people elected in office today all went in there with the best of intentions to do the right thing, to make our state better. But they learned the rules of the game and they compromise and say, okay, incremental change is better. I'll work towards that. I'll do the best I can. And by the way, I like the rock lifestyle that I get treated with. So I like to keep my job.
Right.
So they go along. Soon as they know that there is an alternative that doesn't ask them to walk away from the jersey they have chosen to wear for their lifetime, doesn't ask them to believe or promote any issue that they don't want to. It says, come as you are, just come with integrity, come with honesty, let the voters choose, work it out between the voters and yourself, what the specifics of issues are. So now we believe that those people already elected, soon as they know they can stand up to the leadership of the parties, they will begin to stand up and say, no, my constituents in my heart tell me to do X. I'm not going to do Y. And if they threaten them with well, you'll be gone. Now all of a sudden they say that threat no longer holds because you know what? I could just become a common sense Democrat or Republican or Libertarian, and I don't have to change any of the party principles that I'm fighting for. I'll get reelected by doing the right thing. Right. Not by adhering to what leadership tells me so I can earn your loyalty votes and get your endorsement and your money at the next election.
Yeah, absolutely. What now you had mentioned, what can people do to help the Common Sense Party become a party here in California?
Well, the most important single thing they can do is take 5 minutes. That's all it takes. 5 minutes. We prefer that they come to our website because there's an important factor, but you can go online and in 5 minutes. And if you're quick on a keyboard, you can probably do it in 2 or 3. And if you're somebody more senior like myself, it might take you 7 minutes. But we ask people to go online, update your party preference. It doesn't say I'm signing up for some club that I have to glom onto some new issues or change it. It doesn't say any of that. It just says change your political party preference to the Common Sense Party. You go online to cacommonsense.org. That's cacommonsense.org. You'll see a link that says update your registration. You click on that. It'll show you on one screen the key ingredient. When you're on the Secretary of State site, which your next click will be, they only show you the 6 existing official parties. Then there's a box that says other. You have to click on the other box, and then you can type in Common Sense Party. They won't tell you anything about us. You have to know the option and type it in to do that. And that whole process takes literally, on average, 5 minutes. That's the most important thing. We need you to do it now because we need to become official by the end of September. When they take a snapshot October 3rd, we have to have qualified through the sausage maker, which we know we need really more like 100,000, because there's going to be people that are disqualified for lots of little reasons and no reasons, but will be disqualified. So we need people to do it now because it's so easy to say, oh, I'll do that. That sounds good. And then they go away, they turn away, their kids are crying, the ball game's going on, and they forget. So take the 5 minutes to go online, cacommonsense.org, click on it, do it in 5 minutes, you're done. And that helps us accomplish the birth of a new party, a new kind of party that will represent the people, the rest of us. That's the most important thing. Secondly, then if you've got other time resources, and I say this to people, some people have a lot of money, some people have a lot of time, some people have a lot of contacts or a particular skill. Just click on volunteers and then submit your information. There's a whole list of different things that you can do, and offer whatever it is that you can, and recognize that if it's time, contact, skill, money, whatever, they're all needed and they're all equally valuable. What one person can give that another can't is irrelevant. What you can give is all that matters. And most all of the highly giving people that I've met in my life have been the poorest and the ones with the least. They understand the need and give the most as a percentage. So do what you can, but at least change your registration. Everyone, no matter how stressed you are, no matter how overwhelmed with life you might be, no matter what health issues you probably have or dealing with, or you or your family, you can take that 5 minutes and help birth a new kind of party for the state of California that will help change the nation. It'll help inspire this kind of change throughout our country quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really feel that, the quote I always use is the Wayne Gretzky, where he talks about, not going to where the puck is, but where it's going to be. And I really feel like you guys are where it's going to be. So
we're trying to anticipate. That's why we're trying to build it, recognizing that everyone thinks differently. There's not your wife, no matter how much you love her and how close you are, I can guarantee you that you don't agree on everything.
Right. Absolutely.
There is nobody. Identical twins, no matter what. None of us do. So, but what we do want is to be treated equally with respect, given equal opportunities in life. And that's what we're trying to build, a party that says, come as you are, believe what you want, just know how to be a cooperative individual working with others so that we can come together. There are solutions to every single problem out there. All we have to do is come together in enough numbers of people to come up with those solutions and get them implemented. And not that this first attempt is going to always be the best. That's part of one of the things that a new kind of government would do. Get out there, test things, let it work, change it, constantly work to improve it. And if it doesn't work, get rid of it and try something else. Don't stay with the same unproven policies year after year after year, pouring more and more money into policies that are giving us constantly less results. And that's what our government has been doing for years, is taking our tax dollars and pouring them down the drains of policies and programs that have not delivered the results that they've promised us, and they've never changed the way they function. They just continue to pour more money into it and expect a different outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael, it's been, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. It was such a pleasure to meet you. I could tell you this, I'm going to go on that website. I'm going to get my wife to go on that website, and, we're definitely going to sign up and get you guys closer to that goal of getting you as a party, because you guys, we need the Common Sense Party here in California, and just to jumpstart everything else that we need.
I would like to leave this with the audience. It's not about me. It's not about Tom. It's not about Fernando. It's not about any of us individually. Yeah. It's about what we can leave for our children and future generations, so that they have the kind of opportunities that we once had, and some even never had, but that we've dreamed about, and that our country was founded on, that hopeful vision of what freedom could be for all. And so I just ask people to keep that in mind, and take the 5 minutes and help us.
Yeah, absolutely. And just for everybody who's watching, I'm going to put all the links on the description. So, just scroll down, and you'll be able to contact the Common Sense Party. Also Movi as well, it's AB 83, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great bill. And by the way, Ranked Choice Voting has a great organization here in California, More Choice San Diego. There's so much effort going on by so many people to help find places where we can improve the system. So I hope everyone will look in the mirror and say, what can I do to contribute, whether it's the 5 minutes or beyond that? Just do something to help. You were given a great gift. Let's pass that gift on. Let's pay it forward.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, I really appreciate it again, and I wish you the best, and hope to see you again.
You will. You won't be able to get rid of me.
Right. It's all right.
All right. Thanks, man.
You have a great rest of your day.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.